that they were supposed to wait.
I had talked to them. I was that a couple weeks ago after they knew. I said, "Bring that. I'm leaving on there. I'm going down to Valverde place."
They have they rotate.
Because
Did you see
the name tag there? Was that what's saying?
life is hurting, so
I'm trying to make us
Red Sand?
rotate it.
Right there.
Good evening.
This is all.
May we have your attention, please? There has been a song request.
It's time for the meeting.
You want to?
Can we play it after the meeting?
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's time for the meeting. They're going to start the meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
It's advertised by the. All right. At this time, we're going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for attending this joint city-county meeting.
They can't hear you.
I can't hear you, Rob.
Well, can everybody hear me? Test. Can you hear me now? Not at any way turn the microphones up anymore? Can you hear me now? Okay. I want to welcome everybody to this city-county meeting to discuss 911 communication consolidation for the city and county. We're going to be talking about animal control, and the big thing on the list is the Richardson Center license agreement. At this time, we will ask Ms. Young to do the invocation and pledge.
May we bow our heads, please. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we come before you right now just as humble as we know how. We pause first of all to tell you thank you. Thank you, oh God, for allowing this appointed time, oh God, for the county commissioners of Columbia County and Columbia and the city council of Lake City to come together, oh God, to take care of the business of Richardson Community Center. We ask, oh God, that you just help us, oh God, that we'll forget about ourselves and concentrate on the interests of this community, from the babies to the elder, everyone, oh God. Help us, oh God, that we'll put them first. Help us, oh God, that we can get recreation, structured recreation. We can get programs. We can pull all of this together. We know that we can do it if we put you first. So we say today, oh God, have thine own way. We ask, oh God, that you bless the entire Columbia County, Lake City, Florida. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. On the agenda tonight, we're going to switch the agenda around a little bit because the sheriff has some prior commitments. And so we're going to do 911 dispatch first, and then we're going to go into the animal enforcement, and we'll do Richardson last. So at this time, forward, if I can get a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Mayor.
Okay, we'd ask our city clerk to call the roll for the city.
Mr. Jernigan?
Here.
Mr. Hill? Ms. Young?
Here.
Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Kennon? Chief Butler?
Okay, and I'd also like to welcome everybody and thank y'all for coming out and taking an interest in our community.
Okay. At this time, we're going to talk about the consolidated 911 dispatch. We've had a committee working on this now for 2 or 3 months, and we've pretty much got most of the kinks worked out, I think. But basically what I wanted to do tonight is have the sheriff come up and talk about the advantages of a consolidated 911 and the chief of police, and basically get the consensus of the city council and the board of county commissioners that they are okay with, agree with what we're doing with the 911. So Sheriff, are you going to come up at this time?
First, I want to say thank y'all for having this meeting, and this is a pretty good time that we're at right now. This combined communications has come a long ways. We've been working on that ever since I was elected as sheriff, and we've talked about having the combined communications, and there's been a lot of work in the past. We still have a lot of work ahead of us. I want everyone to know that I am for combining our communication center. But we've got some things that we have to work out statutorily and also policy-wise. There's still a ways to go, but we've come a long ways over the last several months in actually bringing this to fruition. And I know that working with Chief Butler and our two organizations have really come together. We've had a lot going on in our community. I think that it's going to enhance our ability to do law enforcement activities in the community, and working together have a safer community. So I want to say thank you. I do hope that both boards can come together on this, and that as we move forward, we'll be bringing back some things for board approval in order for us to work together. And I know that there's going to be a lot of anticipation that, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen quick. We've got some things that, when you start dealing with computers and radios and funding, it can get a little bit laborious, but I can tell you we're working as fast as we possibly can to make sure that we have the best system that fits our community and our services that we provide, so that we can provide a good product out there for our citizens. So thank you all. Do y'all have any questions of me?
Yes, I got a question for you, Sheriff. When you say combine, it would be the sheriff department combining with the police department, am I correct? So we don't have to go through, you call the police department for, then they say, well, since you're not in the city, you have to transfer over to the county. So all that's going to stop, and you will have better response time, am I correct?
Correct. The way we've envisioned this, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but the way we envision this and the way that we're looking at this is that the city dispatchers would come to the combined communication center, which is out on 90 West.
Yes, sir.
The city would serve as a backup, which is part of our requirements. Statutorily, we have to maintain a backup in order, in case there's an event, a storm, or the primary area gets knocked out, we have a fallback location to go to be able to communicate during those tough times. We've had several incidents in Columbia County over the years, and should we take an impact out there, we would be able to fall back on that. The way we're looking at this agreement is the city dispatchers would come out to the combined center. We've already looked at how the configuration would look as far as the CAD system and where the operators sit. That would have so many designated for the city, so many designated for the county, for the sheriff's office, and then we would have some designated for the fire. The city fire and the county fire would also be dispatched out of there. The reason this is so important, right now we have what's called a ring down system. There is a little bit of time lost in that ring down, because when you call 911, that's what's called the primary PSAP. That's the primary area where the call comes into, and the county's responsible and liable for that. So once that call comes in, if you want to have a secondary location, then they take the information, they ring it down to that secondary location. That's what we have now. This will eliminate that to where that all of the dispatchers, whenever a call comes in, everybody has what we call situational awareness. So, and it doesn't matter, the chief and I are working very well together. We've signed an MOU where the city officers can respond, or and before the sheriff's office could respond in the city as well. But I always tried to respect the, jurisdictional areas and get along.
Yes, sir.
But now, we actually are working together, very well with that. This would, I think, eliminate some of the time lag, for getting folks on scene in a quick time. You know, it would eliminate any delays.
I love that. Good job, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Anybody else want any questions for Sheriff Hunt?
Sure.
But
We've been working on this now for 10 years, and I don't see why it takes 10 years to do a combined dispatch. And I don't know where the can't get the holes at, but I expect that tank to be cleared out. So the most important thing is for the citizens of Lake City and Columbia County. And we've been working on it for 10 years now, 10 long years, and have not accomplished what we need to for the citizens of this community. And I want it stopped, and I want it fixed. It's just that simple.
Commissioner Williams, the years I was chair of the 911 steering committee, you're exactly right. And one thing I'd best like to emphasize, if we don't get nothing out of this meeting tonight, the citizens of the city of Lake City, you need to pay real close attention to this, because irregardless what somebody may want to say, you and your family and your loved ones are the ones that are vulnerable. And I shared this just the other day. Talked with both of the fire chiefs. They see it clear as day. You get a bad situation where somebody's injured, fire, heart attack, whatever it may be. You're sitting there explaining this to one person. Then all of a sudden you're in the city. Now it's got to ring down. Now you got to say it again. And I'm not gonna just say his name, but I'll quote a fire chief: "Seconds mean lives." And as Mr. Williams said, he hit it dead on the head. I'm ready to put a dead date on this, and we're here or not, one of the two. But it's very, very important. It's important to all Columbia County citizens, but most importantly, anybody in this room that lives within the city limits. This is very, very vital today. It must happen, and we're going to make it happen quicker than you think.
And actually, it's 15 years we've been working on this.
thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Chief Butler?
Yes, thank you. Like the sheriff said, both law enforcement agencies are working closely. This is just another step. This move only makes sense. Somebody calls and there's a problem and they've got to be transferred. God forbid the call gets lost in the transfer, something happens. We have situations where the police department's involved in something and there might be a deputy a couple of blocks away and he's not even aware of it because their dispatch center's not aware of it. It's going to make us more efficient, more effective, and honestly cheaper, and to do a better job for everybody. We're at the point now where we're talking about getting the technologies merged. Fortunately, the city and the county are basically working off the same systems, so merging them is not going to be that hard. Already spoke with the sheriff. There are some slight differences in our policies. We're going to get together and work those out so the dispatchers don't have to think, am I dispatching for the sheriff or the police department? So I think this is a good move all around, and hopefully it'll get done sooner than later. I don't see a lot of major issues coming up. But if you have any questions.
But y'all are going to utilize all of the people in your department and his department together, right?
The dispatchers are
Yeah.
going to all work for the Columbia County Dispatch Center. They're no longer going to be city employees because you can't work for two different bosses. It wouldn't work. So they're all going to work there. The issue both agencies have, or both centers, is finding qualified people. This will help alleviate that problem.
I just want to make sure that nobody's kicked to the curb and all this changing. That's what I.
Nobody's going to lose their job.
That won't be a problem.
Actually, both sites are currently understaffed, so that won't be an issue.
So right now, the city and the county are having trouble staffing their 911 center with dispatchers. So it actually will benefit both city and county trying to compete with each other for employees. Commissioner Williams?
Mr. Chairman, I'll use one of the sheriff's old cliche that I don't care how much lipstick you put on a pig, he's still a pig. Here's what bothers me. When we are in the public forum, it seems like we all getting along. But when you look at the reality of it, you shuck it down to the car, there's a lot of bickering going on the inside. And the bickering got to stop. We shouldn't be here this long.
I agree 100%. Yep. We need to, the city and the county has got to work together. That's just a must. So, anybody else got a question for Chief Butler? Chief, thanks, sir.
Thank
You've
you.
been a great help in trying to get this accomplished.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Crawford, Chief Crawford?
Thank y'all. Glad to see there's a lot of people here tonight. Just to kind of a little bit on all of that's going on with the combined dispatch centers and all. With the sheriff's office and with the police department, it's a little bit different than it is with our fire, the city fire and the county fire. We already mirror each other's response protocols, almost identical anyway. Ours will be a lot easier to combine and a lot easier for the dispatchers. One of the biggest things that will help for the fire and all is that we'll be able to operate off the same channels. So we'll be able to hear each other, what's going on. And like they said, the sheriff and the police chief were saying, that if we have a unit closer to a call, then, they'll be able to respond, they'll hear it and they'll be able to respond. Another thing that would help with us is the way the fire departments are, both of them are dispatched is when the call comes in, the dispatcher can see the closest unit on their computer, on their CAD screens, and they can tell what unit is actually closer. And with us all in one dispatch center and all combined, it can work to where it doesn't matter if it's a city or a county, whoever's closest is the one that needs to respond and can respond to do it. There's already an automatic aid agreement between the two fire departments. The city fire department helps us in a 5-mile ring around their station. And the county fire departments come in for structure fires to any structure fire within the county. So we're already doing a lot together. Just putting this in one dispatch center together will be able to alleviate a lot of situational awareness to where everybody can hear what everybody's doing and we can talk to each other. And we're not having to go to two different entities to try to get help. So it'll be a great thing for us. And along with us, we've talked about fire and you've talked about law enforcement. EMS is part of that dispatch center too, the ambulances and all for Columbia County Century. And that will work the same way. Right now, even if there's a call within the city limits, the county dispatchers will take the call, they'll take all the information and then they'll roll it to the city, and the city police and the fire department will then go too. But there's a little bit of a lag there by doing that.
Talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to go back over it? Okay.
No,
Okay. Anyway, just to let everybody know, it's a very good thing. It needs to come together and needs to be done. And I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Crawford? Is somebody here for the fire department for the city? There you are. Okay, I was looking for you. I didn't see you. Come on up.
I think Chief Crawford covered a majority of it.
We can't hear you.
Come closer. I didn't want to
Take it
squeal
out.
like Chief Crawford was. I think Chief Crawford covered the majority of it. It does come down to a life safety issue, not only for the citizens, but for the first responders. We respond to the same calls, as Chief Crawford said, structural fire calls. In the process of responding, either the county coming to the city or the city going to the county, we have to change channels at this time to get on the same frequency. Whenever we enter a hazardous environment, we do have portables that we take, and in the heat of the moment, you could forget to change the channel that you're supposed to be on the top 10 step command. If you do that, you get in trouble, you're gonna be calling nobody. So it could definitely be a life-threatening situation that you get yourself into. We actually were with the county dispatch a few years ago. I think there was some players that didn't get along, so we kind of separated ways. I think it's a good thing. We definitely will make a better response times on inside the city for sure. And there's not going to be any miscommunications. Mr. Williams to start telling a story, and the time it gets down here is completely different. You think about that in emergency situations, more people that have to process the information and then put it out, it could be construed completely different. I'm looking forward. I like working with the county. I like working with everyone in the city and the county. And I think this is a good thing we need to move forward with.
Anybody have
Thanks,
any
sir.
questions for, Mr. Boozer? Thank you. Tom, would you like to come up and say anything? I mean, when I first started dealing with this, I talked to you about all the positives, and you give me a whole list of positives, and I said, what about the negatives? And you said, I don't really know of any. So,
For y'all that don't know me, I'm Tom Brazil. I'm now one Senate Director up in there for 10 years now. I'll put my outside voice on. I hope you can hear me. All right. I think this really is long overdue in this county. You basically have two jurisdictions, the city and the county. Having a ring down, it's a delay that we really don't need. One of the big advantages, the sheriff's office and the city all have what they call mobile computer terminals in their cars. They can track on an automatic vehicle locator. They can see where every other unit is. But by now they can't see each other because we're using two separate computer-aided dispatch systems. If we consolidate it into one, combine the center, everybody on the same channels. Of course, the city PD would have their own channel that we would monitor, and the sheriff's office have their own. Fire departments combined, but some of the steps we've talked about that people have agreed to, I think is going to make it a lot better for the community, because about 90% of our calls come in on cell phones, not hardline phones anymore. And if you look at the city limits of Lake City, they're so convoluted, we're constantly transferring calls back and forth because of that. So I think it's the best thing for everybody. Until we dig down into the weeds, I really don't know how much money it's going to necessarily save, but I think there will be ultimately a savings. Not too loud, not loud enough. I'm not loud enough? I want that loud enough.
Tom, you like me, I've never had anybody tell me I'm not talking loud enough. I'm usually, everybody said, I heard you before I saw you.
But, you know, a combined center is, to me, the way to go. If you look at what's going on around the country, consolidation is the way to go because you're not duplicating services. You're not paying for the same service twice. It's happening all over the country. And I really think it's the way to go. I think it's a smart move for both the city and the county. Again, as both the sheriff and the police chief pointed out, the county runs the 911 center. All the dispatchers from the city would become county employees. We would collaborate on policies, procedures, come up with something amicable for both. And I think it's a very good way to go. I really do. I think it's the best thing we can do for the county. That's all I'm saying.
Anybody have any questions for Tom? And Tom is our 911 director now for dispatch. We have one public speaker on Sylvester Warren, if you want to come up and speak on this matter.
Sylvester Warren, Commissioner, City Council members. I'm just trying to figure out, we're trying to get like a consensus here because I think 911 combined is important. And from every meeting I've been to, both city and county, no one has disagreed about combining 911. I've been at the county commissioner meetings. There's a consensus to combine. Y'all are on one accord to do so. I have almost perfect attendance at the city council meeting, and this current council has agreed to do it. So it's important. It can get done. It sounds like it's going to get done, but I guess it's just a consensus to see whether or not y'all all agree in the same room, because it sounds like what's most important, instead of talking about what hadn't happened 10 or 15 years ago, let's get on the ball of getting both sides to get the rest of the work done, because I hear the 911 manager say he still don't have a cost of savings. I hear the sheriff say he still has some unfinished business to get it completed. So it sounds like it's still a hurdle to get over. So let's nip this in the bud. If it's such life-saving and it's both sides have already agreed, let's just get the work done, guys. Let's not talk about what happened 10 or 15 years ago. This is a new council. Some people were not on the council then. Let's just get the work done. I think the people of this town are tired of hearing about what happened in the past. People want action. They want things done in today's society, in today's time. So I would encourage the council and the commissioners, let's just get the work done. Let's not talk about the past. If it's ready, let's just move on it. Thank you.
And really, that was the only speaker we had for the 911. And really, the reason I wanted this on the agenda tonight, because both of us were, the county and the city was going to be together today. And I wanted just a general consensus between our board and the council that they're on board with this before we spend a whole lot more time on it, because we're really fixing to get down to giving it to the attorneys to draw up the MOUs and the contracts. So I just wanted to see if there was any of the commissioners or any of the council members that had an issue with this. Mr. Sampson.
I know being involved with the 911 committee and how it's moving forward, I think we're moving at a faster pace right now than what is known. I think some of the delays with getting different things back from different IT vendors and things like that's kind of been a delay, but it looks like in the next couple of weeks, we're really ready to streamline the process. So I believe we're to the point where we can go ahead and start the collaboration between the city and the county attorneys and go ahead and start drafting up the wording of what we want that to look like. And I think the sooner we begin that, then it won't hold us up when we come to the other agreement. So I would even be willing, if we're making motions, to make a motion that the city would move forward in authorizing the staff, including the manager and the attorney, to go ahead and start the drafting process to bring a final document to us.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second by the council?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, question? Can you take another question or a statement or whatever?
Yes.
I think it's a good thing as well. However, I just want to know, before I vote on something, I like to know exactly what's going to happen. I can't go on what may happen or what should have happened. I need to know exactly what the product is. So I don't know the product. I hear the sheriff talking, I hear the chief talking, and I believe both of them. And I heard the 911 supervisor say what he knows, but there's no product. There's nothing there. I don't know what to vote on.
Well, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So the motion is to begin the process so we know what the agreement will be. I mean, we've got to have an agreement drafted between the two attorneys, between the city and the county, so we know what that is before we vote to actually approve that agreement. But if we don't authorize them to enter into that piece of it, then we won't have anything to look at.
This is not a final agreement. It's just to get them started.
So basically, I don't know that we really need a motion. If we just get the consensus from the council that they like this idea and they're okay with us moving forward with it.
You look to your right. Yes, I have a consensus that if that's the case, let's go ahead and move forward with it. I do believe that should be done. I really believe in the sheriff and the chief of police. I believe in two of those guys can definitely work it out. So let's get it worked out. No motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion by the council? Ms. Sarge, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to just verify the motion. I believe Mr. Sampson had asked for a final document to come back for consideration, but then I heard him say a draft document. So I just want to make sure that the motion is for the city to move forward, to authorize the manager the city attorney to bring a final document or a draft document to the council for consideration on a city-county consolidated 911. So which is it?
I would say the document for the final approval, which would be the,
Motion would be for us to begin the process.
to begin the process. Yes,
Ms. Sykes.
that's correct.
I'm gonna ask y'all if y'all would speak closer to the mic. We can't hear y'all down here at all.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
And at this time, I'll ask for a motion for the council to move forward with a contract to present to our board and to the city.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Thank y'all, gentlemen. And like I say, we are working on this diligently, trying to get this moved forward as fast as possible. And I agree with everyone. It's the best thing that can happen for the city and the county residents as far as 911 is concerned. So at this time, we'll move on to animal enforcement, I'm sorry. And the reason I put this on here, the county is in the process of starting an animal enforcement, as far as hiring our own animal enforcement officers. And we're trying to work with the Humane Society to house the animals for us. And right now, the city has a contract with the Humane Society to do their animal enforcement in the city. I just wanted to bring it forward that I would like to see us try to work together on the animal enforcement side and let the Humane Society, we'll work with them on housing the animals and as far as that goes. That way the Humane Society don't have to keep an animal enforcement officer on staff just for the city of Lake City. And also it would help because a lot of times when there's a call in about an animal or a vicious dog, whatever, first thing they'll send somebody out and then they'll say, well, no, you're in the city. So we only handle the county. No, you're in the county. We handle the city. So it's very confusing for the animal control officers. And I think that's a lot of the problem now with maybe the Humane Society trying to figure out which one to work with. So I just wanted to let the city know that we are going to do animal enforcement with the county, and we'd like to work with the city on animal enforcement also.
I have some extra copies of the agreement we have with the Humane Society. The city council got a copy of it today. I've got some here for the county commissioners. Going to pass that down to Mr. Murphy, and there y'all go. That way y'all can see what the agreement does say.
Okay. And like I say, I brought that up just for the, if there was any discussion on it. I don't know if I have a card on this. Sylvester? Okay, all right. So any discussion on that, any questions, or anybody want to talk about it? So, this time, I guess, we'll move on to Richardson. And let's discuss Richardson Community Center.
Chairman, I want to make a motion that we accept the deed from the city and take ownership of Richardson Community Center.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for the county to take the deed, take over, accept the deed.
Take ownership, accept the deed.
Okay, let's open it up for discussion. Anybody have any discussion on that?
I think Ms. Young has something.
Ms. Young?
Yes, I believe that that is an issue at this time, being that the city, we have voted to not send back the grant, which the city and also the county believe that we need here at Richardson Community Center, the $2 million grant. And one of the things, one piece of information that we found out that we cannot deed it as of today.
Mr. Kraus,
There's a,
oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to let Mr. Kraus wanted to address that.
Oh, no. Councilmember, you.
I thought you were done, I'm sorry. If you weren't done, go ahead.
Mr. Kraus, I believe, would be the one who would be able to provide us with more information on that, being that he's the one that actually spoke with the people with DEO to get that, obtain that information.
We actually had a conversation with,
David, pull your mic.
Put the microphone 2 inches from you. Right up in your face.
we actually had a phone conversation, I believe, with Dee and Paul and myself and the folks from DEO. There were some questions. I reached out to DEO today, and we are working on those questions to resolve, because DEO has given us 2 pieces of information.
David.
This will work better. So we had a conversation with the city manager, the assistant city manager, myself, and all the representatives from DEO several weeks back, I think about 2 weeks. And DEO is conflicted. They have 2 different groups thinking 2 different things. I've reached out to DEO today, and I'm still working with them to try and resolve it and work out those issues. The issue is the deeds have already been transferred. So how do we make the grant work now that the deeds have already been transferred?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so one question would be, could the county be a signatory on the grant? Would that be something that DEO would allow?
That's one of the things we've asked.
That's probably the easiest way to solve it if they'll allow that.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Williams.
David, this sounds like a two-headed dragon talking. One talking out one side of his body and the other talking out the other. We were advised in the past that DEO said that it didn't make any difference who owned the property, that the grant would have to be auditioned by the property owner. So now are you saying that there's a problem with that?
So Commissioner Williams, you are correct. We got in writing from DEO, I think it was in December or sometime, I can't remember the exact date, where DEO said there would be no problems with the deeds being transferred over to the county. And that was before the city transferred the deeds over to the county. In our conversation this week with DEO, those people still said, yeah, that's fine. The environmental review people said there could be a problem with the environmental review.
I have a problem with this back and forth information because I spoke with Commissioner Williams. You asked me about the grant. And I assured you that I would get with the city manager, which I did, Mr. Dow. And he got back with me on the information. I was informed the day before our meeting prior to yesterday that there was conflicting information that we received initially. And the last information provided to Mr. Dowell and related to me is that we cannot deed the property, Richardson Community Center, to the county.
So the original information was not conflicted, but when we met the other day with Dee, and Dee was there, he can verify, the environmental review agent said that there might be a problem with the environmental review and it being a violation if the property changed hands prior to the completion of the environmental review. And that's what we're trying to resolve. The problem is the deeds have already been signed and sent over to the county, so that transfer has already occurred.
But we didn't accept it. We made a vote to not accept it.
It has not been recorded, but the deed itself is in the county's possession. That's a legal question that I would respectfully request that you refer to your attorneys.
And
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Shabella, go
if that
ahead.
be the case, then the grant, the $2 million goes away.
Mr. Feller, you told me that the city was not going to pursue the $2 million.
No, sir, I didn't. No, sir,
Excuse me, I'm
Mr.
talking now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
When I had a conversation, when I had a conversation with you, you said that there was a problem with the grant, and at that time, that you didn't think the city was gonna pursue the grant.
I didn't think, and this is what I said, Mr. Williams, Commissioner Williams, that there was, the city was in question about the flooding, and if we were gonna be able, if the grant would be if the grant can be modified. And we found out that the grant cannot be modified according to Mr. Kraus at that time. Am I correct, Mr. Kraus? That's where the question lies.
So the specifics are the city council voted to ask for a modification of the grant. And if the grant did not get modified, to turn the grant money back into DEO. As such, I believe you sent them a letter? Dee sent them a letter. I sent them a copy of the minutes from the city council verifying that fact. Since that time, I guess the board took a vote last night. I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know. But that, I would refer to Dee at this point.
Mayor, if I may, we did inform the DEO.
You gotta get your microphone put in.
We
here.
did inform the DEO that we could not cancel that grant without a resolution, so they were informed of that. So he has actually not canceled the grant. The grant is active.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor.
Hold on a second. So Tuesday, Monday, Friday, whenever it was, myself and Joel, I think it was last Friday, you, David, we didn't even know.
Microphone, Tim, microphone.
We didn't even know where the grant was at the other day. You went out looking for it. I'm sorry, let me take that back. The deed. So where was the deed at?
The deed was in a file in
Okay,
our
but-
offices.
But we still haven't accepted it as a board. We did not vote on that. Last meeting.
I guess I would refer to Joel at this point on how technically that was worded.
Well, technically, we took a vote.
Yeah.
It was 4-1.
Again, I refer to the attorney.
Commissioner Murphy, can you guys hear me? I can't.
George, you gotta talk up.
Joe.
Buddy, I'm about an inch from this mic. I'm trying to make sure I'm heard. Okay. The issue that you're having here is the way real property is transferred. The deed has been conveyed, acceptance is presumed. The Board of County Commissioners has said, we don't yet know if we want to accept that. And so the motion before the board that's been made by Commissioner Hollingsworth is whether or not we want to take the deeds that have been tendered and record them. So in Florida, the recordation of the deed is the formalization of the transfer of the property. The conveyance from the city to the county occurred when the deed was tendered to the county. So it's because of the multi-step nature of the process, the attachment of equitable title, there's all sorts of real property issues. Whether or not DEO is going to view the conveyance of that title as somehow compromising the grant, we don't know that yet. These issues were brought to my attention a few hours ago. And so I do not know the answers to these questions yet. I don't think anybody does. And that is the operative issue, and I think that's what Councilwoman Young is raising, is that we don't know. I don't mean to speak for her, but I think that's what she's saying. However, the motion that's on the floor is to take those deeds that are in the physical possession of county administration and have them recorded, which would formalize the conveyance.
That's the motion on the floor.
But again, at a prior meeting, Mr. Chair, I back taking the deed as long as we got a plan. Do we have a plan once we get the deed?
Yes. We talked about it at the last meeting, running the community center, just like all the rest of the communities in the county, providing a facility for recreation and providing a facility for. Y'all got to quit talking in the audience. We can't talk up here, y'all talk out there too. Now, if you're gonna.
We can't help what the speaker's doing.
Look, if y'all continue to speak out, I'm gonna have to ask whoever's hollering out to leave, because we can't hear up here when we're talking, and y'all talking out there too.
I think when y'all are talking,
I
think when you're talking,
well, we're trying to speak as loud as we can. I'm sorry.
when you talk into the mic, instead of looking at each other, you probably need to just look ahead because it sounds like.
So,
Can y'all hear me?
so basically, can you hear me now? So basically, at the last meeting, we talked about accepting the deed and running the community center like any other community center. That was kind of our plan at the last meeting that we talked about, and we'll work with the community center board or the city on recreation and any programming they want to do at the center. So right now, we have a motion on the floor for accepting the deed to Richardson Community Center from the city. All in favor, say aye.
Amen.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 4-1. Is that correct?
3-2.
3-2.
3-2. Who voted against?
So we just throwed away $2 million, that's what you said.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Well, that's all I could hear.
No.
That's all what I understand.
There's all kind of alternatives that we can still do to keep the grant.
Okay, long as there is a way to keep that money,
There's all- there's kind of-
I'll go ahead and renege mine, and I'll say, yes, we're gonna keep that $2 million.
Huh? You need me to recall the vote? Okay. We'll do a roll call. Commissioner Murphy.
No.
Commissioner Ford. Aye. Commissioner. Commissioner Hollingsworth. Aye. Commissioner Williams. Aye. Okay, so did you get the vote? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that the city would authorize Kraus, County Manager Kraus, to facilitate the grant and be the grant administrator on behalf of the city. If the county's willing to do it, and that he would seek a joint application.
Okay, there's been a motion to have Mr. Kraus handle the grant application. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion by council?
There is discussion.
There is discussion.
All right.
Go ahead.
The first thing is, did anybody talk to Mr. Kraus to see if that's what he wants to do? Would he do that for us?
We have offered to do that in the past.
Yes. You willing to do that?
Yes, as directed by my board, absolutely.
And I would ask Mr. Johnson, what is your stand on that? Because the grant is in the city's hand. It's this, anything that happens, it falls on the city. So what's your stand on that?
Well, I mean, it's up to the council to make this decision. We are authorized, as far as us, we are responsible for the $2 million. It does not matter who administers it, but I have no preference.
Well, that's my concern is, the city is responsible for it. And if this facility fails, then the city is left with their bag, correct?
That is correct.
So the obligation, as I understand it, is the center has to stay open for 5 years. Is that correct, Mr. Kraus?
The grant requires the center to be stayed open.
And
Yes.
have we ever failed to keep a community center open?
We're gonna keep it open. Not gonna let it close.
So, I think that, you can trust the county that this facility will stay open as a community center.
Can we trust the county that it's gonna stand with recreation? Structured
Well,
recreation.
I think you had something you want to say about, you got anything you want to say about recreation, the plan?
Mr. Mayor, we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we were having discussion on the motion.
Okay, so I want to make one other comment. If the county would be willing to be a co-signer on the grant, I don't know if y'all would be, but that might facilitate it with DEO to make it a little easier.
I think, speaking for myself, whatever the county has to do to help make this grant possible, we will do whatever we have to do to make it possible.
I would have no problem with that. I mean, it's a District 10 grant, and it's a District 1 grant, and I'm like some of the gentlemen spoke last night and ladies at the meeting. I don't want to see this grant disappear. I know that the community needs it. So on my part, I would definitely do anything. I would have no problem co-signing with it. If you want to call it that, I mean, this stuff changes by the day, as everybody in this room can see. I mean, it's changed since yesterday, so I don't know. But I think the community deserves a grant, and I do everything I can do to save it myself.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion. After this motion is on the floor,
Okay.
passed,
If
I'd
there's-
like the opportunity to make a motion.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, then Ms. Ox, will you call the roll on the motion?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
No.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Commissioner Williams, you have the floor.
I would like to make a motion that the county co-sponsor, this grant with the city so that we can show, the grantor, the city and county is working together to make sure this possible grant works.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, as far as programming and recreation goes, we work this out with the staff, but I'm okay with helping fund some recreation and programming out here. I think we should fund some, but I think the city should also participate in funding that recreation and programming. And the community center is in the city, so I would like to see the city or either the community center board facilitate the programming or the recreation that's out here.
Mr. Sampson, at the meeting the other day, mentioned some funds that could be used, and I want him to correct me if I'm wrong, but he was talking about in the neighborhood of 50,000, and I think what he was saying is for the rest of this fiscal year, and then when we do our budget this summer, then we can project for the next year and how much we can do. Is that correct, Mr. Sampson?
That's correct. That's correct. So we voted and we did allocate 50,000 for this fiscal year. That's through October. And we discussed, a minimum of 100 for next year, but I'm not sure that would be the minimum. It looks like there's some other opportunities possibly, that we might could expand that as well. I mean, programs are crucial, and more than just rolling a ball out, it's crucial that there's something that's going to enrich the lives of the children that use the facility. And I think the city's got a responsibility to do that. And I think it would be it would be a failure on our part to not participate. And we did commit the 50,000 for this year through this, and we did advise staff to look for it on this upcoming budget.
And I agree with that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I agree with Mr. Sampson's position on that.
Commissioner Williams?
Mr. Chairman, it's very important that we work together with this recreation department. And one of the things that I would like to see happen is that we form a recreation committee, that have a city councilman and a county commission serves on that, since we'll be joint funding it. So it will work better that you have a recreation committee, just like you used to have the fire committee, a rec committee, the library committee. When both entities was funding a program, I would like to see that take place where there is a recreation committee, one representative from the city and a representative from the county, along with who else they might designate to be on that committee.
And thank you, Commissioner Williams. That's exactly what I was going to ask. I'm all for county and city working together here at Richardson, anything dealing with Richardson Community Center, especially recreation. And when I say no, it's not a no that I don't want the county and the city, but and especially when it comes to, and I'm going back a little bit, it comes to the $2 million. It's just too many unanswered questions. And for us to lose that money after finding out the what it would do for our city, not just Richardson Community center, but the community. For us to lose that money is just ridiculous. Now, and as far as the committee, we did mention that, and we talked about that in our meeting. That's one of the things that we were going to ask. If we're gonna fund it, then we should have participation in it. And I thank you, Commissioner Williams, for mentioning the committee. Thank you so much.
Well, I believe if I understood you correctly, Chair, you stated that in our previous conversation at another meeting, and then I think what you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong, we as a county will treat Richardson as any other community center in Columbia County. And the board, the Richardson Community Center Board will be responsible for the activities. We do the funding collectively, us and the city. Is that what I'm understanding you to say?
I'm saying that the board can work it out with the city, or if the board wants to run it, that's fine. If the city wants to run it, but if they're going to do a committee, that's something they'll have to work out amongst themselves. But the county's role, as I see it, will be to provide a facility, do major repairs on the facility, just like we do every other community center in the county, and pay the utilities at the community center. But as far as recreation goes, we'll help fund it. We won't operate it, we won't run it, we'll help fund it. I don't think the county should be in the recreation business. At the community center. Yes, sir.
We're in the recreation business already.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna be spending money on it. That's being in the business. So that,
Can I
but,
say it?
go ahead.
And Richardson cannot be treated like any other recreation center that the county have. Give you an example. In 2018, there was 18,000 people came through here. Those are the ones that signed in when it came to those doors right there. There probably a third that did not do so. In 2019, there were 16,000 came through those doors and signed a piece of paper saying that I'm at this facility. And the only off years there's been was 2020 with COVID and 2021 with COVID. 2022, there were 14,000 came to that door. So you have a facility that's completely different from the other recreation centers. When all these kids come into this facility to play basketball, whatever they do, they got to have supervision. And you just can't open the door and say, hey, y'all come. You got to have staff here in order to supervise these young people when they're here. I think it's somewhere like one adult for 25 young people that's in the facility. You need one adult. You got to have a male and a female. So if the community center gonna run it, that's fine, but it can't be an open gym. It got to have some sort of organization, and it got to be worked that way because too many come in this facility in order to participate in recreation.
I would add, I want to ask, how would are we going to let staff work this out or the committee work this out? But how much money would we do? Is it something where we would help the city in a certain amount of money? Is that, we're going to get together on that and find out how we're going to do that?
Be determined.
Okay.
Well, let's decide who's gonna run it tonight.
Well, we have a contract with the community center board.
Okay.
Community Center Board is going to run it.
Is anybody here from the community center board that would like to speak? That's got the authority to speak?
Come on up. Come up.
I just want to make sure that we're not throwing something on the community center board that they're not willing to do.
Okay, I'm Tammy Magstead, and I'm the treasurer. Okay. I'm gonna just read my paper, and this will be the easiest.
That's fine.
there's been a timeline of events that have happened in the Richardson Community Center this past year. It's been mentioned that this has really gone on for years, but has come to a head in the last few months. When the county cleaned house last fall, they placed a coordinator and a maintenance personnel to keep the facility running. This was Alden Rosner, and then it was some men that were doing maintenance, and they kept the thing open, and we had our hours set, okay? Our board started meeting in October with the county manager, Mr. Kraus, and the attorney, Mr. Foreman, to establish current boundaries and accountability with programs and funding. After hours of meetings, we finalized a licensing agreement and a new rental form to be used going forward. We met with all other community centers and the county manager to discuss rules and liabilities. We finalized details who handled which funds relating to recreation versus rentals. The plan was supposed to go into effect January 1st. In December, the controversy over the deed began between the county and the city. And here we are today. I began on January 1st with our new agreement in place and have planned to carry on until this is settled. We have a rental phone number and I handle our rentals. I collect the fees and we have a setup and cleanup maintenance man that the board pays directly. We will finish a basketball tournament on April 29th that was run by the Recreation Department and the board with our current established rules. There were 100 players, many of which are in this audience, and coaches, besides referees, scorekeepers, time clock, door admissions, and concessions. We had 300 spectators at some games and at least 200 at others. The 29th will be the 7th. Okay. Our proposed agreement with the county is to have a county coordinator with an office at the center with determined hours. That's what Mr. Alden Rosner was doing. He was here certain hours. He was the coordinator. The coordinator will work together with the Recreation Department that you already have and the Richardson Board to set a calendar and run programs. There have been 2 maintenance workers and a Saturday worker to keep the facility open and running with any night programs. Hands of Hope is working on a recreational program to offer to kids on a weekly basis. Summer camp is waiting to be set and dates created. Richardson Roundup has set dates and is waiting for clearance. I have a whole folder of programs to be put into motion. We need volunteers and people willing to help. You can call the rental phone number listed on the front of this building and we will get in touch with you. We're ready to go. We need to get this deed settled, which tonight was, so we can go forward. Thank you.
I'm Leonard Johnson, Vice President of the Richardson Community Center Advisory Board. You know, I'm excited that the City Commission and the county has come together in a collaborative effort to make things work out at Richardson Community Center. As Commissioner Williams has said, this is a unique community center. I understand the county want to fund it as any other community center in this county. I think that's great, but there's more to Richardson than it is at other community centers. Without an administration here, this place cannot operate. The advisory board cannot run this place without a staff here. There are thousands of people coming here for various reasons. There are all kinds of programs, pickleball, basketball, banquets, football, basketball banquets. Everything happens out here at Richardson Community Center. And there has to be someone here for simply liability reasons. We have to see that the facility is taken care of. You just can't let someone come here without some supervision of staff on site. And so it's a matter of the county and the city working out How are we going to fund the administration? How are we going to fund the recreation and the programming that occurs here? That's the big issue. The advisory board is, well, what's going on at Richardson? There may be issues as it relates to rentals. Well, we take in the rentals, but we give that money right away to the community. We fund programs for uniforms for kids. We fund scholarships. We give donations. That's what's happening with the rental money that is generated by Richardson Community Center. Richardson Community Center and recreation is tied so close together here that it's almost impossible not to work together to make it work. And I'm thinking that the city and county is finally coming together to do a job that really requires both of you. The county should have the total responsibility of this center, not should the city. You should come together and everybody have to give their fair share of what it takes to run this facility. If it takes staffing, then let's make the contribution to make it happen. It absolutely requires staffing here. It can't happen without staffing. You have to have janitorial here. You have to have custodians here. You have to have people supervising kids. You just can't let somebody just come here and nobody's here to answer any question, to provide what is needed, to unlock doors, to make sure the bathroom is clean. Everything has to be taken care of. It takes a staff to do that. And so I don't think we need to fool ourselves that just somebody, that somehow it can just magically happen. It cannot be. You have to put in the funding for it, for recreation, for the programming, for the staff to make it work. And that's the bottom line. You got to work out, well, how much you're willing to do and how much are you willing to do. I think the public need to know, because I don't think we all know, how much it really takes to run Richardson Community Center. The figures that I saw and heard of, it takes nearly $1 million to run this facility. Should the county bear that total responsibility when most of the people who are benefiting from this center lives within the city? You've got to look at it realistically. Let's all come together, both city and county, and make it work for these children and people in this community that is benefiting from the many activities that happen at Richardson Community Center. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Lenore.
My name is Phil Mobley, and one thing I would like to share is that the community center does do a lot of recreation, and recreation is wonderful, and we want to continue to fund those recreations. But Richardson Center is more than recreation. Richardson Center is an outreach. We are providing through North Star and other activities. We are helping families that are in trouble, trying to prevent families from getting into serious trouble. Since 2021, we have helped over 5,000 people with food, with clothing assistance, with just things to help people. Where we provide a after-school tutoring program. We're working with kids every day to help them get through the tutoring aspects. We're having people call me every day. I had 5 people call me today asking me about summer camp. Through partnership, our summer camp that we offer, any program we do partnership is free. Partnership, we do not charge anything for any of our services. We need to grow. And to be able to grow, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure and make sure everything is working while we can grow. So working with the board, working with the county, working with the city, it will cause us to grow and continue to provide those high quality services to each and every one of the citizens in Lake City and Columbia County. So we thank you, and I think the board is ready to continue to work with the county, work with the city to be able to help formalize that arrangement and move forward in our outreach and our education. And one thing I will say is that we do need more enrichment programs for our young people in this community. And enrichment, exposing our young people to things that they will never see in Lake City. And so we need to be able to help that, and we need to develop that, and we're looking for people to help. We have organizations that are coming up to us every day, ready to expand our services. And since January, we had to put those services on hold until all of these decisions are made. We're ready to keep moving forward and continue to make this center and Columbia County a great place to stay, be for every citizen in this community. Thank you and appreciate it.
We do have some comment cards. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Pamela Green to come up.
Yes. It's not working. But this actually will
I hear you good.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me now? None of them.
No. Testing. I think this is.
We tried.
That was on, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll keep working it till we get it right. But this is an example of all the needs that we have here at Richardson and how important it is to have finances to support things. My name is Reverend Dr. Pamela Green. I have the privilege and honor of serving as the pastor of Trinity United Methodist Church that you can see right down the road here. Both churches established in 1863, and I'm also the pastor of New Hope, and we were here for a while, since 1863. And of course, those history buffs, you know, that's when the Emancipation Proclamation. Those folks have been fighting and surviving and striving in this community to serve the Lord and do what's right for the children. To do what's right for the children. And I will tell you that the leaders in my church have all come from a place where they've been in structured activity. Every leader that I have in my church, every man, every woman that steps forward has been in a structured activity. Prior to answering the call to the ministry, I was a clinical psychologist for children for 20 years. And I will tell you, I was at Johns Hopkins, I was at Emory University. I can tell you, the children that I worked with in those communities, those that made it were in structured activity. Those who made it and maybe had a chance were in structured, overseen activities, and not structured activities that were funded at $50,000. $50,000 is what some of us pay for a wardrobe. Come on, people. Let's be serious. You have so many children here that need so much help here. Really and truly, I beg of you as a pastor who gets to hear kids talk about being suicidal, a pastor who talks about having to see their parents fight, a pastor who has to see we don't have food on our table. That's what I get to hear. And my fiance can tell you the number of days that I'm out going to get food for people. He calls me and say, honey, are you coming home anytime soon? No, because I'm out feeding people. I don't know if you all know this community as deeply and well as those of us who live in this community. $50,000 is not enough to fund what these children in this community need to be successful. And need I remind you, as I've reminded you before, the school failure to jail pipeline, we all know those statistics. I don't need to remind you of those. Those children who are in structured activities are not a part of that pipeline to jail. And we know that if they go to jail, what's going to happen after they're in jail? Last statement that I want to say, you all know the saying, a community is known by how it cares for its vulnerable. How do you all want to be known?
And what do you want your legacy to be 10 years from now on the decisions you made for the children in this community?
Thank you. Mr. Glenn L. Bowden.
Not for those folks, they want to hear you.
Commissioners and councilmen and councilwoman, for me, it's all about the program. The building is here, it's nice, it's cold, it's more than cool, it's cold. So we know the building been maintained. You know, we know you spent thousands of dollars out here. So the question of the day is what you're gonna do about programming, about recreation. That's really the need. You got two choices. You can either fund the community center, the recreation aspect of this, or you can send some money out there to about 1.5 miles north out there in Five Point. Is it gonna be community center or detention center? I just give you some background on me. I got locked up when I was 21 years old. When I was in prison, most of the people in prison was my age. The difference between me and them was this. That was my first time. The kids that was in there with me, young people with me, they had been in jail 3 or 4 times. And then in our group conversation, when they sit around talking, said, what happened? We didn't have anything to do. We didn't do anything. We didn't have any program. We didn't have any places to go. So they ended up in crime. So it's a prevention element here. But I want to say this. I just can't see, and I got a lot of respect for the advisory board if they're going to be doing advisory. But to go from advising to running this center without some pay, some staff, it don't work. You know, when I first started campaigning, we used to have a lot of volunteers. But at some point in time, guess what? People want to get paid. A volunteer may show up at 2 o'clock. But if that person getting paid, they're going to be here at 2 o'clock. A volunteer may show up at 8 o'clock. But they're getting paid, they're going to be at 8 o'clock. So if you're really concerned about the kids and the future of this community, you got to think about if you're going to fund these programs. I know you want to get out of the recreation business. I heard you say that. The city got out of the recreation business some years ago. That was a serious mistake. You're either going to pay for it on the front end or on the back end. But for us who live here, I got a report from the chief of police the other day. Within a mile radius of this center, there's more gunshots and more violence within a mile radius of this city, of this center. So that tells me we need some activities, some programs, something going on out here. If you're not willing to fund the program, just say we're not going to do it. If you want to get a recreation business, just get a recreation business. You know, and Mr. Chairman, you can say what the county is going to do. You can speak for yourself, but the next election, we don't know what the county may do. No, you said that you kind of don't. Somebody said you want to be in the recreation business. If you don't want to be in the recreation business, you speak for yourself. But 2 years from now, it may be a different opinion about whether you want to be in the recreation business or not. I'm suggesting to you that the most important thing that can happen here tonight is that you all come up with a way to fund program and fund some recreation. And I'm not talking about through the advisory board. You need some professional people out here who know what they're doing. I'm not saying they don't. But this is not West Side. We go from here to West Side for event. Very few people come from West Side out to Richardson, you know. So this is a recreation center that happen to be a community center at the same time. So we need the bottom line. Money is the bottom line.
Sylvester Warren. Sylvester Warren.
Chairman, council, and commissioners, I think it's very important that I echo a few things that have already previously been said. If you look at the National Parks and Recreation study that was done, they did a study and it demonstrated and proved that structured recreation is the only thing that reduces teen crime. Everybody was talking about the teen crime issue and the kids and the violence. If we're serious about it, you have to put money behind it. And all the studies and statistics says the only way you can do that, the chief is here, the sheriff is here. I posed this to the police chief when we were fighting for recreation to be out at Annie Maddox, the resurface of the basketball courts and all that. And I had the police chief to come up to the podium. And he had to do nothing but agree with me that the studies prove that you cannot save the teens without structured recreation. So it's about money. I don't believe that the advisory board is in any position. We had the same issue, Tim. We had the same issue with the advisory board. They canceled on being able to do staffing. They didn't want to do it. We tried that. We tried to give them the staffing aspect of it. They gave it back to the county. Zach was a part of that. He'll tell you what's important to me as a father and a grandfather. I came to this advisory board about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I got granddaughters. Tell me a recreational program that I can send my granddaughter to other than basketball once a year. I can't send my granddaughter out here. I pay more tax than anybody in this, and I can't send my granddaughter out here. That ain't right. And there's two baskets of money. The county gets two accounts. They get money from the city citizens, and they get money from the county citizens. The city only get one account of money. And so the county should be willing to give more. They should be willing to pour more into it. I remember this board said that there's nothing they won't do when it comes to kids. They will go find the money when it comes to kids. My question is, what kids are you talking about? The ones at South Side or the ones at this side? That's what we want to know. You said you will find money for the kids. Are you talking about South Side or are you talking about Richardson? That is what we want to know. And what would tell us which kids you're talking about if the county is willing to stroke a big check to do the same idea for up here. That's what this community needs. Other than that, we don't want nothing.
That's all the speakers that we have turning cards. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, Kyle Green. I'm sorry.
I'm going to jump in there, sir.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Chief. Yeah.
Just, and again, as the police chief and everybody knows, if the kids don't have something to do, then eventually we're going to end up dealing with them. So I heard somebody else say, pay now or pay later. I've heard a lot of talk about basketball and sports here, and that's all well and good. Kids like sports, but we really have to do things for the kids that aren't into sports. STEM programs. We need homework assistance. You know, my wife was a teacher for 25 years before we moved down here, and she always said, nothing look of a kid when they can do their homework at school, and when they learn and they realize they get it. They want to move forward. They want to go to high school. They want to go to college. They want to get a good job. And that all starts 5 and 6 years old, not when they're teenagers. So please, if you're going to do stuff, and this is the hub of this community. You know, I've come up here for different events. It's a melting pot. It's a great location. We really need to spend the funds, but we need a diverse program. We need to work on the STEM, the education. You know, I was looking quickly at Ocala and Gainesville. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. They've got programs there. They're already working. You know, plagiarism only gets you in trouble in college. Other than that, it's good management. So if we can do that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I'm sorry, Chief. Oh, we have a question for you.
So I know as part of the discussion, what the city did with the 50,000, in addition to that, you had said that we could have an officer here 5 days a week or, I believe it was 4 hours a day.
Right, out of the funds that we have for the policeman's ball that I'm not going to use for that, we'll transfer that with permission of the city council to the overtime account. And what I will do is I'll put an officer here, more of a community thing, not as, you know, obviously also security, but to get the kids used to the police officers. They'll come down here. I'll have them in soft clothes. They can play basketball. They can play with the kids. Get together with them so they don't see the police as an enemy. And also, we also are bringing our Explorer program back online. And I'll get with the board and use this facility sometimes and hopefully get some kids that are interested in being in an Explorer program. Some of our police officers came through our Explorer program. So anybody who's interested in law enforcement, it's a great way for them. It's part of the Boy Scouts, but it gets them involved in the community. It gives them a sense of self.
So Chief, so the number for that was roughly,
About 25,000 for the overtime,
25,000.
correct.
Really, the city was committing, with your budget amendment, we were committing 75 this year, 125 next year, which is pretty close. I mean, our budgets are massively different when you look at them. I mean, there's no comparison between what we get in revenue, what you guys get in. We're about 15% of the population. So I think that program, I think getting kids where they're used to dealing with officers, I think that will be helpful to break some of the barriers that's out there as well. Thank you, Chief.
And then I'd also offer the services of my community relations coordinator. So if there's stuff that needs to be coordinated with other parts of the city, Ashley's real good at that, and I'd have her help you with that.
Would you be willing to have her on if we do the recreation committee, to have her in that?
I will volunteer her for that, and I will duck when I tell her.
Chief, before you go, I'm gonna hit you one. I've heard you and the sheriff both say this, and what you're saying is great, and I support it 100%. But also, you also need the help of the parents too, correct?
I think we should have stuff for the seniors, the parents. I think the community center, if you look at what Ocala does, they've got stuff for the seniors because eventually we're all going to be there. Give them a place to go and things to do. And I think if you have the younger kids in the same locations as the seniors, it gets a lot of structure and it helps they behave themselves because they know that there's.
And not to cut you off, but you're exactly right. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you know as well as I do, every time you come to a crime throughout the boundaries of Columbia County and you pull up on a crowd of 50 people, nobody's got an answer. I mean, you both know they got the answer. It don't matter. It ain't just here at Richardson Community Center area. It's from one end of this county to the other. And that's where the parents, and I said this 6 months ago, it's time that the parents start stepping up and being a part of these. You can't send your kids to school and you can't send your kids to Richardson Community Center for somebody else to raise them. It's got to start at home, and it's got to start at church. And, and let's quit pittering and pattering around this, because the fact is, this is where some of the problems rise at Richardson all these years of the misoperation. And, like Grandma said, the truth stings, okay?
Okay.
So, but I'm putting you in your place because the sheriff left. I'd have him up here too. But the end result is you need help.
We do, but I think if we start with the kids, the teenagers as a foundation of the building blocks, a few years down the road, they're the adults.
Absolutely.
And,
we can throw millions of dollars at this thing. And if we don't have structure, like the young man said over there before, you ain't done nothing.
And, the speakers before me put it eloquently as far as what needs to be done. And I'm in total agreement with everything everybody has said.
Yeah.
So, I'd appreciate it. And I really think a structured program is the way to go here.
Thank you.
If I can make a comment.
Monty, we're not, I don't know who's talking, but we can't have talking.
But just for the record, I agree with the gentleman right here. They cannot. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
That's why us in this community have got to step up, everybody, and go grab that youngin', like one did me years ago, and say, hey, I'm going to help you. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But when we see this go on, we can't turn our back.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Kyle Green. I'm going to have to disagree with Commissioner Murphy on saying that the problem starts here at Richardson Community Center. I think the problem begins at home. A lot of these kids don't have parents in their house. They don't have a father and a mother in their home, and it really begins at home, not here. I'm a single father of 3 children, and we have lived in this community our entire lives. I chose to raise my kids here because, like you all, we love the small town feeling. We love going to the grocery store, out to eat, and seeing friends that are like our family. As much as we love our community, we see the lack and desperate need of things for my children to do here. I'd like to ask you all this evening to please keep our youth at the forefront of this issue. It's not about politics. It's not about appeasing one side or another. It's about what's doing right for our kids. We have to think about what we can do for the betterment of our youth here in the community and future generations. I'm sure you've noticed that there's been an uprising in gun violence and violent crime among teens here. That's because we aren't giving them a way out of the streets. We aren't working to provide them with activities that will help develop their young minds and promote success. I'm not talking about activities like sports. There's more than just football and basketball for these kids to do with their lives. The problem is that most of the time that's all these kids think that they can do. These kids have the opportunity to be whatever they want, whether it be a doctor, a business owner, etc. The Richardson Community Center could potentially have the ability to provide them a foundation and resources they need to succeed under the right leadership. We need mentoring programs. We need after-school activities. We need so much more, but that's going to take funding. And if you ask anyone in this room, I'm sure they would agree that our children are a good investment. We have to put our differences and disagreements aside for a moment and consider the detrimental impact of the decisions we're making. We want Lake City and Columbia County to be a place where everyone feels like they have a chance and where kids know there's another way besides the streets, drugs, and gangs. The Bible says in Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. I'm praying that we are able to find a common ground and make the right decision, because this decision will have a lasting impact on our youth and future generations. It will have an impact on our crime rate. It will have an impact on drugs and violence. And most of all, it will have an impact on the overall success of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
I would like to make a comment if I can. I would like to say, because I am a parent. I'm a parent. I'm actually rearing a 7-year-old. And I would like to say, I don't want no parent to leave here with the wrong impression. No one rubbed wrong here today, because we have some very supportive parents here who have come through Richardson Community Center. And I just want to use, for an example, Lake City Heat Incorporated. I see parents loading up in cars, taking these children to these games. Very supportive. Where there's structured programming, structured recreation, you have parent participation. We don't see parent participation because we have no structured recreation. When we fulfill our responsibilities, we'll see more parents participating. And yes, it does start at home, but every home is not as fortunate as other homes. So we can't put everybody in the same bucket. And parents, I appreciate you all. I thank you all for coming today. I appreciate you all. Let's keep on pushing these children. Let's keep supporting them. Basketball, football, mainly school. And we can make a difference in this community. Parents, we need you just as well as you need us. God bless you.
Tammy Magstad, you already spoke? Okay. Monty Ashby.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Monty Ashby, and a year here from Orlando. Raised in Cleveland, partied in Detroit, Chicago, LA, lived in LA. So I've seen a lot of big community centers. In Orlando, I was a volunteer for the Orlando Youth Foundation. We brought in kids from their neighborhood and meet Michael Jordan, all the stars when they're practicing. We have parquet floors, not this. It's parquet floors. It's state of the art. I've seen it in all the cities that I've been in. I came here to a little city. I love the little cities, less noise. I hear the birds chirping. I don't have to hear crackheads arguing about who got the bigger piece in the morning. It's just the way it is. With anything, you have to have a structure. You have to first have leadership. Without the proper leadership, it's going to fail. Whether it's a church assembly, whether it's a basketball coach, a league, or team, if it's not the right leader, it's going to fall. It's going to fall. I played football. I was one injury away from going to the NFL. My dream was to be Jim Brown. Like all those kids in Cleveland, we wanted to be Jim Brown. But see, we didn't know that an injury was going to stop you from fulfilling that dream. When I mentor some of these kids here, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a football player. I want to be a basketball player. I said, that's great. But you know what? They're not like my nephew from 5 years old who had a trainer to know how to run, had a trainer to know how to, he's a basketball and football. He's going to be walking on the University of Oregon next in the fall. because he was structured in how to be that player. But he went on an academic scholarship. So he automatically walked on the football field or the basketball. He's going to be a double. He's going to go basketball and football. He's that good physically, recreationally. But as far as mental, he's the coach on the field. So what I'm saying here really quick, recreation, that's all I hear, mostly. But like the chief of police said, he's absolutely right. You got to put something in their heads that's going to sustain them for the rest of their life. Because see, my injury, I can't sustain myself with a football. I can't. So, but luckily I had somebody besides my mother and father who drilled it in me, but sometimes it takes somebody else to really get it into you. It took somebody else to really get into me, a coach who said, you need to get an education. And that's what I did, 4-year degree, Kent State, and I graduated, and they ain't look back. So we got to facilitate, but it has to be facilitation in a group who's going to hold on, who's going to handle the situation. Not sitting up in the room or anything, not sitting up there to collect money. There's so much of volunteer, in the big cities, they got volunteer staffing from young adults. It don't take a whole lot of millions. They got parquet floors. They got the whole system in there. It's state of the art. How long this been here?
Mr. Perry.
Commissioners Council, my name is Harold Perry. I am Richardson. I heard everybody talk about Richardson. Hello? Okay.
There you go.
I am Richardson. I worked at Richardson. The cop asked me to come and help him out for about 4 years, working with the kids, getting the place all cleaned up and whatnot. Getting the place all cleaned up and working with the kids for about 4 years. The kids we had in those 4 years, half of them are in college. Others I got productive jobs. But they had somewhere to come. They didn't come and play basketball and football and whatnot. We had summer course going in the cafeteria every summer. Even when we was out here, we did structure, talk with them about schooling and whatnot. Sitting them on the bench and talking with them about it. We didn't just let them run about. When you get somebody out here, you got to have somebody that has something to do with training, childcare. You just can't put anybody out here with these kids. It's gonna take money. You need a staff to keep this place cleaned up. This is Richardson. This place was built in 1960. You can't find a place as clean as this, even at the high school now. But we need to help our kids. We need to help them. So please, let's get together. Stop talking about who is who. Put the money up. We have parents come out here with these kids all the time. When we have a kid that do something wrong, we suspend them for a day. They do something wrong another time, we spend them. They couldn't come back till the parent come. We get the parent out here and we discuss what's with them. But we need to help these kids. This is our future. This is Richardson. I am Richardson. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. That's all the public cards I have at this time, but at this time, we will do a 3-minute comment. Anybody wants to speak, they can come up at this time. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Williams.
Mr. Chairman, you heard several of the speakers echo exactly what I was saying about Richardson as being different from any other community center. including members of the Richardson Community Center. As you know, staff developed a staffing program for Richardson during our budget process that gave supervision to this center. And I would like for us to look at that again because Richardson cannot run on its own. You got to have staffing. Staffing had a staffing program that was funded and in the budget that met the criteria of what everyone is talking about. So during our process of coming up to a final decision, I would like to make sure that we look at that staffing program that staff came up with to give supervision to the people that use this facility.
All right, we do 2-minute or 3-minute comments at this time. Come on.
Commissioners, council. I think it's important that now that many people have spoken, and I think that the tone has been set that this community, this inner city community, want the county to help the city fund structure and organized recreation. There should be no shortage of funds. We claim how much we love kids. We say the kids are our future. We either pay now or we're gonna pay for it later. That has been the end result of this community. And I keep saying this community because it has been this community and these kids from this community who look like me that have been overlooked for too long when it comes to recreation, when it comes to STEM, one of the things I always say, and I will continue to say, that our kids are more than sports. Our kids are more than sports. And we can't just make that a saying. It's time to make that a reality. This community center, up under the leadership of the city at one point, saved many lives. Many lives. You take the Quentin Callums, you take the Henry Camille Juniors. I even came here. You say, what happened to you? Well, guess what? The streets is recruiting too. And my daddy was the #1 recruiter, and I couldn't refuse. So if you do not put the money and recruit the kids and give them an option, I can promise you that the streets will recruit them. And what matters more, Robbie, you know, when he was my friend, he can attest to this. He know I was 11 years old in the drug house. He know that I was 12 years old with my first drug charge, 13 years old with my first gun charge, what I caught right here at the gym because I was chasing a guy here to shoot him. This gym saved lives because of recreation. The only reason it didn't save my life is because the person that was recruiting me was my father and I could not refuse him. But it's not about me, it's about the people who it did save. You're gonna always lose some, but that's why I'm back. And that's why I'm fighting for recreation. So that it can save people's lives and they don't have to go through what I went through. I was the guy, third youngest person in the whole state of Florida to ever go to Dozier School for Boys twice. That's where I got my high school diploma at the age of 16. That's when they let me go. This is real. Y'all don't know nothing about being a teenager in these streets up here. You need the money. It ain't no just looking at me, man. Cough up the check. Robbie, this is real. You know that. You know how serious I am. We can play politics and not like our personalities, but you know I come from a real place and from my heart. I fight for this shit because it's real.
Anybody else?
I promise I will not use the 3 minutes. I just wanted to respond to a comment that Mr. Murphy made as it relates to parents. My mother, I grew up right across the street from here on 209 East Strong Street. I used to walk across here going to Oliver Church. She made me go to church every Sunday until I got to be a teenager. My mother didn't have anything to do with me going wrong. My parents did the best they could with me. My mother had a 9th grade education. I think more like a 6th grade. My father died illiterate. The first time he voted, he signed the exit and he voted for me. So my parents did their job. I made a bad choice. You can't blame parents for some things. The kids though. That's not even real. You got it's houses over here where parents they don't even have a dining room table. I grew up, I never sat to a table and had dinner with my family. We sat at each on the spot, eating out our laps. So you're assuming that all parents are the same. There are people who father children, but they're not parents. And so when a kid getting in trouble, oh, it's the parents' fault. No. My mama didn't have anything to do with me using drugs. My dad didn't have anything with me using drugs. They had nothing to do with me going and robbing a store. I made that choice. It was my choice. And so we got to deal with the kids and stop blaming the parents. If you look at somebody to blame, then you can always find somebody to blame. But government got a responsibility. You all got, it's more to being a public servant than paving roads, cutting grass, fixing potholes, and that kind of stuff. You got to invest in people. If you don't invest in people, then you're going to have some problems. And that's where the problem lies at. Now, if you don't live here, that's one thing. If you don't experience it, that's another thing. But when I go to church, I'm going to church with somebody whose son might be in jail. There's possibility they got 2 or 3 relatives in jail. And so we need this program funded here at Richardson. You can't just talk about it. You got to put some money into it. If you're not willing to put any money into it, just say it up front that we're not going to fund the kids of this community. Because that's what it's all about. And stop blaming the parents. Oh, the parents are bad. You got some parents, you got some preachers that got children in in jail. They lay their hands on them and pour the oil on them. They fall out in the spirit. And they guess what? That Monday morning they in jail. So you can't blame the parents. And I'm just tired of hearing people talk about the parents. No, I made a bad choice. You can't blame my dead mama or my dead daddy. I made a bad choice. And some of these kids making a bad choice because they don't got anything to do in this community. And now I'm urging y'all to come up with some money. Don't talk about you can't do it. We got and let me say this. Yes, I live in the city. Only place I ever lived in. I don't want to live nowhere but in a city. But I also live in Columbia County. And sometimes I get the impression that, oh, if you live in the city, then you're different. No, I'm a county resident, just like you are.
This is going to be a minute, but it needs to be said. You know, when I come out here to Richardson Community Center on certain nights and certain days, I see charter school and private school playing basketball in this gym. And I'm here to tell you that it's not just Lake City right here in this community that is benefiting from this hub, this great place called Richardson Community Center. When I come in here to see cornhole being played, that's just not people in this city that's playing. They're all over this county coming in here looking up all kind of colors. When I come in here and see pickleball, I see all kind of colors in this gym. So let's not have the impression that it's somehow limited. This facility is for everybody, and everybody is using it.
Thank you. I think oftentimes we forget about our population as well. And in this community center and how it used to be ran, in the mornings, the community center is open and nobody's here. It's like a boys club. But in the mornings, we could use this for our elderly all the way until 12 o'clock. Have a little break and get ready for the teens. This is the envision that I see for Richardson. It should be a community center that involves everybody. We don't have a boys and girls club. This could be the Boys and Girls Club. The facility is big enough. We have enough rooms to do this. We can have the elderly in the morning. My aunt lives next door to me. She drives. She's 80. She still can drive, but she go all the way to Southside when she can just walk out her back door and come to Richardson. But we have nothing for the elderly people. They need something. They can be here. They can socialize. Then break, get ready for the kids. Richardson used to close at 5 o'clock. The buses used to come at 4:45, 4:30. What was Richardson being open for? And y'all wonder why we got a big crime rate, and now we have nothing. And then we say basketball, football. That's great. But what you got for little girls? Nothing. No culinary, no STEM, no nothing. No hair, no nails, no nothing. A girly girl don't want to come and play basketball. So when you think about programs, and I want you to think about girls also. Not your tomboy girls, not just them. your girls who like to do hair, your girls that like to do nails, your girls that do eyelashes. This is stuff that they can even make money off of. You need to have if this is going to be a recreation center, it should be a recreation center for all. You start with your elderly because you need to take care of them. They need that. They need somewhere to socialize. They're lonely. They're home all day by themselves. They should be able to come here and socialize. Then you do something with your youth. More than basketball. Mr. Sampson, you mentioned STEM. I agree. We should have STEM. We should have culinary. We should have hair. We should have everything, not just basketball and football. And one more thing, this, like I said, this should be the Boys and Girls Club, but we keep talking about $1 million facilities and stuff, but I see a lot of duct tape on this floor. So we got to do better if we talking about we spending all this money maintaining the building.
Okay, I'm gonna turn around because I'm gonna
State your name, please.
Okay, Tammy Magstead. I'm gonna tell you some of the programs that are in my folder that I wanna do. Okay, so I've got an idea. I wanna go to NEBLAC and talk to the art teacher and have her get some of the art students and have little competitions and times that they do art and then post it up around here and promote it. I wanna we go to the senior center, my husband and I do. There are people there that I want to work with to come here and do programs in the morning. But we need volunteers. We need a program director. I already know the money's there. We've already talked that through. We need someone as a coordinator, and then we will bring those programs in. We've got all kinds of ideas, but we've been stuck. It's been closed different times because we are stuck. But I see now we're going forward and we're going to come up with all kinds of ideas. And if people want to volunteer, we'll take you. And if people want to give ideas, we'll take them because we are going forward.
State your name, please.
Joshua Garner. Hey, good evening, council. This is amazing to have everybody together. So this is a treat. A few notes. What was that? Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. A few notes. As Ms. Councilwoman Ms. Chavella said, parents definitely. It's going to start with them for sure. But there's going to be a large amount of people that are unable to volunteer, and that's just the way life is. But I guarantee you that each and every single one of us all have a gift in here. We all have a gift that we can help a child out with. It might be balancing a checkbook. It might be shooting archery. It might be cooking muffins. Who knows, right? There's so many different avenues that we can use this building for. When it comes down to funding, to my understanding, this facility is rented out almost more than any other facility in the county. Is that not correct? So we've got not only the funds coming from the city and the county, but we've got funds coming directly from Richardson that should go right back into it and helping these kids out. I think that it's just that we get a list together of people that can help in some way, in any way possible, whether it be cooking, whether it be STEM, whether it be robotics, music, filming, YouTube. Ask half your kids what they want to be nowadays. Obviously, sports is huge, but kids want to be YouTube stars. It takes a lot to edit those videos. That takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work. Kids are going to want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just certain things that, like Ms. Vanessa said, we don't need just sports. This is a recreation center, but there are so many opportunities that this facility can facilitate for the future of our county, the future of our city, and the future of America. Because when people leave Lake City, just like we talked about in the other meeting yesterday, some people don't like to say they're from Lake City, right? We need to make this a place where they're from Lake City. I went to Richardson. We hear it constantly. Back in the day, Richardson was amazing. Let's get that back up now. Let's get that where the kids these days will say, I went to Richardson. I remember playing basketball here. I remember the cooking program that we had. I remember my mentor so-and-so, Rocky Ford. I remember, so-and-so, Mr. Jernigan teaching me how to play cornhole and pickleball. There are so many opportunities that we can use. So it just needs to become a hub that every child wants to participate. We look at places like Southside. Southside's basketball, or Southside's baseball and soccer. Why can't this be the hub for basketball? Every kid from every place in the county, they go play soccer at Southside. Let's have them come play here and play basketball. Let's get sponsorships on the fence. Let's get more money rolling through and create awesome programs for these children.
Thank you. State your name, please.
Hello, my name is Shalea Jernigan. I am Richardson. I'm from this neighborhood. I remember when this building was no windows, birds chirping in the ceiling. I live right down the road. It was North Street. Now it's Coach Anders. So I grew up here. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was something to do from sunup to sundown. Just like Vanessa said with the elderly, I remember the bus bringing the elderly to the cafeteria to eat breakfast and lunch. Just like Sylvester said, when we grew up, we came to the gym. I was at the gym from when I woke up till the gym closed. We went on trips with my cousin Wayne Jernigan. At night, my daddy played in the basketball program with Ricky, with Jake. I see Mr. Pearson over there. He left. I mean, it was always something to do here for the senior citizens, adults, all the way down to the children. I remember we had ping pong. It was always something for girls and boys to do. It wasn't just stuck on one like boys. It was always girls and boys. Always had something to do here. It stayed open. I mean, I am Richardson. Quita, all of us in here, we grew up in this building from sunup to sundown, and now I don't know if it's the funding or what's going on, but it's not ran how it ran when I was growing up. We all had something to do in this building. It was always tournaments. I had trophies from winning ping pong, from winning pool tables. We were playing pool. What happened to the pool? The pool tables that used to be here. We had the game room. We had computer room. When I came home from school, it was tutoring with Miss Wilson, Miss Weatherspoon, all that. We had all those activities going on when I was growing up, and I'm 43 now. So it was a lot, and through the years, it fell off. So we need to get that back with our kids instead of them just coming, just shooting hoops. It's something to do. We need some resources, and we need things to do in our community also with this building. Because like I say, I am Richardson. I hate to see this building go down because we need it. I enjoy coming out here. I enjoy coming out here on Saturday mornings to the basketball games. I enjoy youth football. I enjoy all that, and I want to keep that in our community.
Anybody else? State your name.
Tony Johnson. She said some very interesting things. Vanessa George, excellent points. I think you ought to get with Mario Coppock and institute those programs that you just talked about. Excellent programs. You got to have some STEM. It can't be all about sports. I'm a coach. But I do understand the influence of a coach, the impact that it has on your children. You have to understand that. And you always talk about volunteering. I know parents volunteer when their child is involved in the activity. What about somebody else's child? You need more Chris Carradines. You need more Mardell Jacksons. You need more Erica Mills. And people volunteer thousands of hours every year to deal with what? Your child. You know, you got to get off your tail and involve yourself if you want to see changes. When Mario assigned me, he don't ask me nothing. He said, "You gonna coach that team right there." I said, "Okay, when we get started." That's volunteerism. You got to be involved with these children. I passed one of my former players yesterday on the corner on a bad Molly trip. If you don't know what Molly is, that's dope. And it hurt me to see my former player that I coach AAU on the street lost. Get involved with these children. This is a hell of a place. And I'm going to tell you who ran it. Even when Roger Litter was the director, Mario ran it. You say, "You're just talking about your buddy." Yes, that is my buddy. But Chip Jernigan is my buddy too. That man been here over 30 years. Don't think this happened because it wasn't under his leadership. Why isn't Mario Coppock here? He knows more about recreation than anybody in this county. And he worked for you. We got so many questions. Ask the man who run the programs. Why this and why not? Y'all don't know nothing about recreation. Mario does. Johnson does. We have degrees in recreation.
State your name.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Caldwell Elliott, and I graduated in 1971. And we was the first class that integrated Lake City, Florida. We was taken from here to Columbia High. So we have a bond here, you know. But my thing is to show is that when I moved away and went to college, I came back after 40 years. And I've been working for Richardson since 2009. And I have taught kids, I've seen kids now come to me now. They're in the military. They playing sports. They say, "Ms. Gail, I love you." I say, I played basketball. I taught the little kids. I taught the big kids. I did education with them. We had girls, we cooked. We had boys that cooked. Richardson was something that the kids came, they rather come here than to go home because I showed love and compassion. That's what we need today. These kids call me right now and say, "Ms. Gail, why we can't go to the gym and play?" I say, it's going to be worked out real good. But we do need something for our kids to come back to. They know it's a safety zone here. Without that, the streets got them, and we don't want that. I don't have no kids. My kids I'm grown and got kids. They live in Texas. But I'm at every sports. I'm with every kid there is. They say, "Which one is yours?" I say, all of them, because I love kids. And we was raised here at Richardson. So if we can get this back, it's not only for the boys for sports, it's education. We cooked. We showed them. I taught them how to know how to, they said, "Why you came back? Why you came back home?" I've been all over the world 2 or 3 times, been everywhere. But it's no place like home. And this place is like home to all the kids. And it hurt me to my heart to see that we stopped recreation, but we couldn't deal with the kids because we have none with the kids. So if y'all can, please let's get this back to the kids because we need our kids' safety. We need our kids to be bonded, where they be safe to come here instead of in the streets. Because I see, now put your pants up. They say, "Who that is?" "That's Miss Gail. She's from the gym." They know I love them and I would tolerate them and I love them. And a lot of parents, they'll come out and help out because I've called them. I got most everybody's number in my phone. But they say, "Miss Gail, you see my son?" I said, "Yeah, he's right here with me." So please, let's get back to the basics of where we was raised. We was raised back in the 50s.
all you all, I guess some of, back in the 50s, how we was raised. When the adults spoke, we didn't talk back. And that's where we got to teach our kids now. All right, thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna close public comment at this time. Commissioners, council members, y'all have anything to add?
I would just like to say, I certainly appreciate the coming together today and hearing from the community. It should give us the to want to work together. We're gonna have disagreements, but it's okay to agree to disagree. And we need to work as a group, both participating here for Richardson Community Center for our people. And I shared last night, and I think there was a gentleman who, first of all, let me say, I was raised in Baker County, McLennan, Florida. We didn't have recreation. When we went to school, PE, that was our recreation. When we left school, we didn't have a gym to come to. We didn't. And even today, there's no community recreation. This is a gold mine. And I can understand, county, you want to hold a deed. This is a gold mine. It has great potential, but it takes people, willing people, compassionate people to work together to make this move. We can have a brand new car. It's beautiful. You pass by, that's a pretty car, but there's no engine in it. So what use is it? I can't get from one place to another. I can just sit in it and admire it. And we don't want that to be Richardson Community Center. We don't want to just admire it. We want some great things to happen here to save our children. And they're counting on us. And we have to get beyond our differences, and we have to move that it will benefit this community, young and old. And I'm willing to do that, and I hope everyone here on this panel is willing to do that. That's what it's going to take.
First of all, I'm going to apologize for being late. I was thinking that the meeting was going to be at 6 o'clock, but it was 5:30. But anyway, the city abandoned recreation a few years ago. I opposed it, but now it's time to make that right. Excuse me. As long as I sit in this seat that I'm in, I'm going to do everything that I can to make it right for its community, for its recreation, whatever the city needs for its the kids that the city can assist in. I'm all in. So starting tonight, I think that it looks like we're all on the same page. I hope this continue to move forward and working together with Richardson, the community center. I just hope that everybody can get on the same accord and we make this work.
And that's the reason I called this meeting. I wanted a joint meeting. I knew if we could sit down together and talk face to face, we could come up with a solution for this problem. That he said, she said, and everybody's spreading rumors around and everything else about this. Look, let's put all that to rest and move forward. We've been dealing with this a year. And a lot of times, you know, I tell people all the time, everybody wants to send emails these days. Email this, email that. Pick up the phone and call them. Talk to them. But you can work it out in a conversation because you can talk it out. Emails to me are just a waste of time. And that's the same thing with this one council meeting over here talking about it, another council meeting over here talking about it. You got to get face to face and you got to work it out. Like I say, you're going to have disagreements, but if you can get face to face, most times you can work a problem out and find common ground in it. And that was my goal in this meeting, and hopefully we've accomplished it.
And to add to that, Mr. Ford, this has been, since I've been on council, one of the best city-county board meetings that we have ever had since I've been on council. And I've been here over 10 years. And this meeting here, I think that everybody got something out of it, is going to get something out of it. So going forward, again, like I said, that I look like we're all on the same accord. And I think great things is going to happen. I feel like there are anyway. And if I got anything to do with it, great things will happen. Because right is right and right is never wrong nobody. And a few years ago, the city wronged this community when they got out of recreation. So it's time to turn that wrong into a right.
I think in the near future, we should have another one of these meetings that we can all talk to one another just like we've done tonight and understand how all this stuff works. And all these people have come and expressed their opinion on how everything they want to work. And I agree with them and everybody here. And like you said, I think we're all going in the right direction. So I think that should happen in the near future, have another meeting and see how far we've got.
And I agree with you.
Committee, put a committee together, so the committee can come back to us and say, this is what's happening.
Right. I think Commissioner Williams had a great idea with the committee, and I'd like to see that committee form and move forward. Staff, do y'all have any comments? Mr. Jernigan?
Oh, yeah, always got comments. Again, I appreciate everybody for coming out and showing support for the Richardson Community Center and the Columbia County Recreation Department. I know we have a lot going on right now, but hope and pray that we get through it. I'm just fortunate. I'm one of the seniors, but I have grandkids. I have kids, and my kids will be raised up in a facility like this. I know a lot of you guys, they look around and they don't really know how this thing works. But I guarantee you, if it's structured the right way, you'll get some positive, it'll be positive impact, no matter how you look at it, whether it's programs or activities, you will definitely get something positive out of it. So I suggest to recommend everybody stay involved, just like they are now. Keep your eyes and ears open, because a lot of people do a lot of talking, but would they be here? Would they volunteer like I do? When Mario calls me and say, I need you to clean those toilets back there, I'm a correction officer lieutenant at this time. I don't say, no, sir. I say, yes, sir, I come back here and volunteer. When he wants me to volunteer out here to sweep this floor, to mop it, or whatever the case may be, or referee a basketball game, I don't change words with him. I respect my elders. Even though he's a few years older than me, I respect him. If Mr. Williams called me up and say, hey, I need you to do this, I'm not going to tell him no. Can't do that. Mr. Johnson called me. I can't tell him no. Those are senior citizens. I have to do like these people tell me to do. So y'all keep that in mind. That's it.
Go ahead.
I would like to see if we could go ahead and get this committee started. I think that's where we really started to move the 911 forward, when we got a committee. And I'd like to nominate Ms. Young, Councilman Young, to be on the committee on behalf of the city. And I would also like to see the city manager be in his place as well on that committee.
And also, speaking of that committee, and Commissioner Collinsworth got it right. And he mentioned that that's what we're talking about, this committee. That's what we're saying they're going to do. But I think we need to establish now what responsibility will this committee. What would be the responsibility of this committee?
Go ahead.
Back join the fire committee, the rec committee, as I said, basically, we look to make sure the spending was equally, no double taxation was involved in it. make sure that, the agency was ran, that we should have, been ran, the minute did not, initiate programs.
Talk to the mic. Oh, your mic don't work? I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get him a mic. They can't hear you. I can't hardly hear you. I know they can't hear you out there.
Council lady, back in the days when we had different, committees made up of a city councilman and a county commissioner, we looked at, double taxation issues, was number one. We looked at funding, opportunities. We didn't initiate programs. We took those programs under consideration. That someone would bring to the committee, bring to Roger Little at that time was the athletic director. And that was the purpose of that committee, to make sure that it worked, that the recreation department worked smoothly, and the funding was based on everything that the city has to do in the county. Back in those days, if you use recreation, you had to list whether you lived in the city or county. I don't want to see us going back to that deal then as it was at that time. It don't make no difference where you live. As Glenn said, if you live in the city, you're still a county resident. If you live in the city, then you're a city resident and a county resident. So, no, do not have to initiate where do you live, whether it's the city or the county. That was the purpose of that committee.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? Just
Of all the people that we should have on that committee, this guy invented.
I was just saying.
Oh, exactly.
That was what I was about to say.
Chairman, he's the man to be on the committee, whoever, he knows more about Richardson than most people forgot.
I just obviously assumed Ron was gonna be on this committee, Commissioner Williams. Yeah. So what I would suggest is let's just form the committee and then bring us back a proposal of what they would like to see done. Right. How they want to do it. Right.
Chair, are we gonna, is this committee for Richardson only or Columbia County Recreation? Richardson only? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would add on behalf of my councils before, I would recommend that we not finalize any committee until Mr. Foreman and I can look at the composition or proposed composition and make sure we don't run into any public records or 119 issues that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
And I think if we can, Mr. Foreman and I can iron out that it would be appropriate for one member of each board, and then if we have to limit staff, and then how to appoint different members of the community that may be interested. That's my recommendation for my board, that we come up with a composition that'll meet muster in that regard. And then Mr. Kraus and Mr. Dow can submit proposals. I mean, they've been working together on this for the last 2 weeks. So that's just my recommendation.
Thank you.
Because Chair,
we'll take that on advisement.
Because Chair, we've got a workshop Thursday, correct, of recreation? Because I agree with everybody in this room, it's time to revamp, if we're gonna be in recreation, it's fixing to be county recreation. Because it had been county recreation. But if this is where we're going with this, I'm fine with it, but the boat's fixing to get a little bigger.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to echo Mr. Kennan's sentiment. If you want this to go forward formally and enforceably, I think we both recommend an interlocal agreement. Are you still not hearing me? Can everybody hear me if I just talk like this?
You're doing better.
I'm done with these things.
Yeah.
So to echo Mr. Kennan's sentiment, I think it would be best if we formulate an interlocal agreement, so this is enforceable, that we call out, who's going to be on the committee, how committee members are going to be selected, things of that nature, so that as we move forward, we don't have a lot of uncertainty. I think that's what Mr. Kennan's concerned about, and I would be concerned about that too. So if we can work on that together with our county manager, city managers, we can bring that back to the board.
Okay. I agree with that. And let's have we'll have the county managers and the city managers work on that also.
All right, anybody else?
I'm a woman of my word, and this lady wants her song played. So just while everyone is exiting, we'll have the song to play.
That's
good,
fine,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn and we'll turn the music on. Somebody.
Good job.
You wanna come now?
I enjoyed sitting there.
Yeah.
Nah, it won't even come up.
Come on now.
Ah, goodness.
Women from McLean is glowing.